I'm going to get you to skip exercise 16 and go straight on to 17, which looks at mouse events and other options. We've already looked a little bit at action listener, which is basically when you click on something or when something's typed in that it will actually go ahead and have some sort of event. So you've got an option here to implement the action listener, which you've done before, and you're going to go through and do a little bit of that. But what you can do is you can make sure that if you're coming down here, this is probably a fairly important one. So in this code here, so what are we on, page 65 of the notes, on this section here, this e.getSource is fairly important. What that does is actually make sure that when you click on something, when it's looking at a particular thing like a text box, as soon as they've clicked on that button or whatever it is, in this case it's going to be like a voting thing. It will go gym button, so it'll actually be a button that they've clicked on, and it will increase this by 1. If e.getSource equals value text, so if, in other words, if it's gone to that particular box, then you're going to find the integer value of that box. Remembering that when you do a text box, it only does text. If you want to do calculations with it, you need to actually do a conversion into an integer or whatever it is. This one is one I'd probably just get you to have a go at in a little while. Remember, you've got all your imports in here, and it won't work if you don't do those. But probably what I'll get you to do is copy and paste all of that in there. In a minute, you just get you to pause that. Pause this, copy and paste out of there, and what that will do is it'll do from the colour list. So all it's going to do is from a list box that you might see, it's going to go and implement an action listener, and it's going to actually add items to the list. So colour list.add red, green, blue, yellow, cyan. Then this is going to actually add it to the screen. When you do an action performed with this particular one, you've got those switch statements, which, remember, they were like doors in each of those items. So if it's 0, it'll be the first item, which will be, sorry, I've just lost the whole page. When you've actually gone in there, it'll be the whole page. And what it's going to allow you to do, so 0 would be red, 1 would be blue, and so on. So it's going to allow you to select the item from the list, and based on that it will choose it. Remember also the reason for the break will be that it jumps straight out of the case statement, and then you've got the repaint option that's there. I'll get you to just stop this video now, copy that code in and get that code working so that you can see it. Then you've got the other option with checkboxes, and it's the same sort of thing, but instead of an action listener this time it's going to be an item listener. So it's actually going to look at that, and the item will be the checkbox. If you want more than one of those, you put a comma, and then you actually go in and you put the second option in. In this case, we're creating checkboxes, so we're creating a new checkbox called milk, sugar and strong. That's instantiating, so it's just creating them. Then it's going to add them to the screen. Remember, the order that it's added to the screen is the most important one. But what we also want to do is, instead of adding an action listener at this, we want to add an item listener at this, and it'll allow you to go ahead and put listen to see if the item is being registered. When you go through here where it's got instead of action listen, it's got state changed, and what you can do is actually say, well, if the state of it is on or off or whatever, then you can adjust that to the order. And what I'll get you to do once you've done this also is to pause this video and actually go ahead and do that option by copying and pasting that code in, checking that it's worked, changing some of the values. With the radio button, the same thing. It uses the item listener as well. Same things as before. You've got your imports, you've got your check boxes in here, and you can actually choose what you're going to, the radio buttons or the option buttons that you're going to do. It creates a new group, because remember with option buttons, it only allows you to select one, so you'd have to actually go and choose all those different options. And here we're setting them to be false first of all. The votes is telling us which one we want it to go into, so it says that that whole group will go together. It then adds them to the screen as you normally would with this section here. And then you're adding an action listener, which is going to allow you to see which one's clicked on. Depending on which one's clicked on, as soon as something is clicked on, it'll go down to this state changed. And what they've put in there is the particular state and they're just seeing which one's clicked on and what response you're going to be. Once again, at this point, pause that video and have a go. I'm happy if you copy and paste that rather than type it in. And then finally, you've got scroll bars in there. When you've done the scroll bar section, what I want you to do is just have a little bit of a look. The code, this is all vertically written here, but it is all on one, so it'll be scroll bars, comma, vertical, and so on. The only reason that that's been put separately there is so that the individual things can be added in there, and it's things like what the minimum value starts at, the maximum value starts at, and what it increments at as you go along. Same thing here, that's written vertically, but just do it horizontally as you type it in. Copy and paste all that code in, and just change some values, see what happens, and you'll go from there. And the same thing with keyboards, just quickly go through those as you go. You've got your mouse listener there, and that will determine whether the mouse is clicked, whether it's let go. Even if you don't put anything into those, you have to have actually all of those options in there. So even if only one of them has something in it, all of those items have to be in there in the coding. Okay, if you can just try all of those codes, once again, let's move through it fairly quickly, and you can copy and paste that information in all the way down. Even if you choose one each and do it that way, and just have a look at what the other person's doing. When you've done that, I'd like you to, as an assessment task, to do I just want to have a go at one of the practical exercises. If you want to do that as a group task, you can do that as you go along. Just choose one of those options in there.